way so they might be able to hear your voices. All right, so we're talking again about equations today. And this is what your paper looks like. So here we go. I've got to get rid of that. Okay, so it says, today we're working with one variable. What's a variable? A letter. We're working with one letter. Okay, do you not have one? Oh, okay, were you just answering? Yeah, so today we're only going to have one letter. Eventually they're going to start throwing in more than one letter, but today we're just doing one. So it says find the value of x in this equation below. So we're going to do all our work here. This is on your paper. You should be able to see it, okay? There's a lot of ways you can do this. Everybody might solve an equation different, which is awesome because there's so many ways you can. When I look at this equation, the first thing that I see that I want to move over is that -8. I want to leave the letter until the very end. So that's what I'm going to do. What's the opposite of subtracting 8? Adding 8. That might have not been your first step, and that's perfectly okay. You could have done, what is this, divided by 3? What's the opposite of dividing by 3? You could have done that first, and that's still perfectly fine. My glasses are fogging up. It's going to be difficult. What's 32 plus 8? 40. All right. If you chose that way, what? Raise your hand if you have another, what you think we should do next. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I would do. Multiply by 3. Get rid of that divided by 3. It goes away. So now we just have to figure out what is 40 times 3. I'm running out of room pretty quickly here. 120. Okay. I know a lot of people at this point see this problem and are like, okay, let's just distribute that 2 and get it over with. But there's an easier way to do that with less work. What is it? Divide by what? Yeah, that will save you some steps. If I take 120 divided by 2, I'm running out of room here, so I'm just going to go down here. What is 120 divided by 2? Thank you. And then we only have one step left. Perfect. And what's 60 minus 4? So basically they're saying figure out what x equals. Oh, that's bad. And we did, 56. So we've got a couple steps we're going to write down here under the steps portion. I wonder if I can exit out of that or if it's on there. Okay, so the first step is just to combine like terms. I'm going to type these in because I know I can't. Combine like terms. Let's make that smaller. So step 1, combine like terms. I'm going to do step 2. Undo the order of operations. We know the order of operations, PEMDAS, right? Parentheses, exponents, blah, 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 blah. We know all of that. Well, you want to undo it in the opposite direction. So you want to undo exponents first. You want to undo all of the parentheses stuff. You want to undo your adding and subtracting and your multiplying and dividing. Then the next step, so I'll copy these and paste them. This was number 1. Yes, you know what I'm going to say. Number 2. Number 3 is do addition and subtraction. Deal with addition and subtraction. So you want to remove those first. That way you're left with your variable at the very end. So addition and subtraction, then you'll deal with multiplication and division. So the last step is deal with parentheses. This is a weird word to spell. Deal with parentheses. And then you have another step that's not on here. You technically don't have to do it, but it's a great step, and that is to check your work. Okay, so if you want to check your work, you're always able to check your work. Okay, we're gonna do this next one right here. I'm going to look and see what I have first. And I can tell right now I've got some fractions I'm working with on this one, which means if you're adding and subtracting fractions, what do you know? You have to have the same what? Okay, so this one's 1/2 and this one's 3/4. So I'm going to change 1/2 to what? So I'm going to just take this whole step to change that fraction to 2/4. There we go. Which means my first step is I'm going to deal with addition and subtraction, or, well, I need to combine like terms first. We do have some like terms on that left side. 7x and 3x together are 10x. So you can combine your like terms. If I were doing this like for homework, I probably wouldn't go through all of these steps and write them down every single time. I probably would have moved the 2/4 over and combined like terms in the same one, so I didn't have to write it twice. But anyway, I'm going to subtract 2/4 from both sides. I have 3/4 minus 2/4, which is 1/4. So right now I've got 10x equals 1/4. Okay, and my last step is to divide by 10. All right, I'm going to look at this a little differently because I've got a fraction. So I'm going to actually write it like this. You can type that into your calculator, 1/4 divided by 10, and you can definitely figure it out. But we also know that dividing by a number is the same thing as copy dot flip, right? You learned that in 7th grade. So I'm going to copy the first one. I'm running out of room, so just bear with me. 1/4, and I'm going to flip my fraction. So 10 is technically a fraction. It's 10 over 1. If I flipped that fraction, it would become 1 over 10. And that would become what? 1/40. That's my answer. You can type that in your calculator, probably just as easy, but I think it's good to remind ourselves of like some stuff we learned in 7th grade. Copy dot flip is what we learned in 7th grade. I don't know, is that how she said it, or is okay? Because there's another way. I think Mr. Lentz said something different, but I can't remember. Yeah, there you go. Okay, this next question, this is on the back of your notes. Is there a back? Okay, good. These are on the 8th grade map test. This question, you'll see this if we have a map test. We'll see this on the 8th grade map test. So it says the sum of 3 consecutive integers is 132. What are the 3 integers? So this one, actually, they do it for you. What does consecutive mean? One right after the other. So if I want 3 consecutive numbers, it would be like 1, 2, and 3, or 4, 5, and 6. It's not going to skip a number. It's not going to be like 12, 100, and 400. That's not consecutive. So you want one right after the other. So the first number, it never tells you what 3 numbers you're talking about. So that's when you're going to use letters. The first one will always be represented with an X. Okay, so say that, we don't know what the number is, but it represents a number. So let's just say, for instance, our numbers were 1, 2, and 3. The first one would be X. To get to the second number, I'd have to take the first one and add how much? 1. That's why it says X plus 1. I take whatever that first number is and I add 1 to it. To get to the third number, I'd have to take the first number and add how many? 2. So that is why they have this right here. X plus 1 plus X plus 2. They're adding all 3 of those up, and it equals the 132. So then they combine like terms. There's X, X, and another X, which turns into 3 X's, and 1 plus 2 turns into 3. They move the 3 over and divide by 3. So what they ended up with was that x was 43. Are we done? Why? You need 3 numbers. They only gave you 1 number. So there's a couple ways you can do it. You can plug it back in. If we know x is 43, what's 43 plus 1? And what's 43 plus 2? This is the answer. A lot of 8th graders will just give me the 1 answer and they miss it because they technically want 3. Yes. What do you? I don't know if that would work every time, but we're going to do more, so we'll see. Okay, we're going to answer these questions really quick. Why did they represent the 3 integers that way? Because they're consecutive. It's one right after the other. We'll see if what you said works on the next one, Mary Kate. Where did the 3x plus 3 come from? That's combining like terms. How did we end up with 3x equals 29? What did they do to get that? Subtracted the 3. What happened here? I don't know what they mean by here. I guess we divide by 3. Define here. Okay. We're going to do another one just like this. So when you're done writing that, we're going to move on to the next one. The sum of 3 consecutive integers is 57. So that is tells me I know it's going to equal 57. The sum means we're adding them up, and we have 3 consecutive integers. It never tells us what those numbers are, so we know the first one we're going to represent with an x. The second one would be x plus 1, and the third one would be x plus 2. You can, you don't have to. So our first step is we're going to combine like terms. I'm going to abbreviate because I'm bad at writing today. Oh, and I spelled that wrong. Nice. Okay. So x plus x plus x is what? And 1 plus 2 is 3. And then you're just going to solve your equation. So we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. We'd have 3x equals, what's 57 minus 3? And then my last step is to divide by 3, which is, okay, that's not the whole answer though. You need 3 consecutive numbers. So the first one's 18, and the next one's 19, and the next one is 20. It does work. So you said to divide 57 by 3. What is it? 19? That's interesting. Very interesting. I want to go over one thing for you. They're not always going to be 3 consecutive integers. Sometimes it'll say 3 consecutive. I'm going to abbreviate. It's consecutive with a C or a Q? C. Odd integers. So if you're talking about 3 consecutive odd integers or 3 consecutive even integers, then it's going to look a little different. So someone give me 3 odd numbers, consecutive odd numbers. 1, okay, 3, 5, 7. The first one is still going to have an x. This one will be represented with an x. But to get to the next one, you don't just add 1, you add what? And to get to the third one, you don't just add 2, you add 4. So when it throws in that odd and even, that's when you're going to have x plus 2 plus x plus 4. Does that make sense? you're skipping. To get from 3 to 5, you have to add 2. And to get from 3 to 7, you have to add 4. That's where the 2 and the 4 come from. I don't know if they're going to throw that at you today, but I just wanted to make sure in case they do that. But basically, we're just solving equations with one variable today. Are there any questions